It may surprise or even shock you to hear what I'm about to say. But if you're seeing this video right now, it's no accident. You've probably sensed for a while that the path you're on is no ordinary journey. Maybe you've come up against walls that felt immovable, yet each time you found a way around them. Even in moments of doubt, there's been a quiet conviction inside you that this particular situation, whatever hurdle has loomed so large, is destined to bend in your favor. You can call it divine timing, a cosmic push, or simply the result of unwavering faith. But one truth stands out. You're a chosen one, and what's coming for you simply cannot be denied. If you're ready to embrace that reality, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment 77 below to confirm you're open to this upcoming transformation. Chapter 1. A subtle shift in the air. At first, you might have brushed aside the tiny clues that a breakthrough was on its way. A message from a friend arrived at the perfect moment, or a random encounter pointed you to a resource you never considered. These events seemed too coincidental to ignore. Little by little, you felt an invisible current guiding you toward a resolution that's always felt just out of reach. What's curious is that it didn't always arrive in dramatic revelations or lightning bolt epiphanies. In fact, the journey has often been so subtle that you questioned if you were even on the right track. Still, something about your inner compass refused to let you give up. You might have told yourself it was logic or a tough sense of perseverance, but if you look closer, you'll recognize it was faith, a persistent, even stubborn belief that your life has a higher purpose, and that a single roadblock wouldn't be the end of your story. You could have walked away, or lowered your expectations, or made safe choices that never tested your boundaries. But you didn't. That alone speaks to the unshakable spark that sets you apart as a chosen one. In these recent weeks or months, you may have noticed your mindset pivot. What once felt overwhelming gradually became just another hurdle to clear. Maybe you enrolled in an online course, sought professional advice, or simply committed to daily affirmations. The impact was more than mental. It started to reshape your outer life as well. Opportunities seemed less random and more intentional. Conversations became charged with meaning. And if you're honest, it felt like a refreshing shift, as though the universe was finally matching your determination and step for step. In that sense, it wasn't a single day or event that initiated this new chapter. Rather, it was a buildup, a string of moments that chipped away at your fears and replaced them with a sturdy conviction. You may not be able to pinpoint the exact turning point, but you understand it when you sense it. The next time you catch yourself on the verge of discouragement, recall those subtle signs. They were more than coincidences. They were confirmations, quietly insisting that your situation is meant to turn in your favor, no matter how daunting it first appeared. Chapter 2. Anchoring your inner strength. When you identify as a chosen one, it can sometimes feel like you have enormous shoes to fill. People might perceive your optimism as naive or label you as overly confident, not knowing the storms you've weathered just to stand where you are. Yet every challenge you've overcome added another layer to your foundation of resilience. You might look back on certain periods of your life and wonder how you made it through. But deep down, you know your inner strength was the anchor that kept you grounded. This anchor isn't just willpower. It's also a deep-seated sense of belonging to something bigger than yourself. Perhaps you can't fully articulate it, but there's a part of you that's always known you're here to do more than simply endure. So each time the world says, "Stop, you've gone far enough," you can't help but push harder, fueled by the knowledge that your journey is not random. That's the beauty of an anchored spirit. It doesn't flip-flop in the face of adversity. It learns to adapt and persist. In the context of your present situation, anchoring your inner strength means recognizing that not every setback is a sign of failure. Sometimes it's a momentary detour designed to teach you an essential lesson or steer you toward a better path. Perhaps you faced unexpected financial burdens or tension in your closest relationships, and those moments felt discouraging. Yet once you processed the initial disappointment, you found new grit you didn't realize you had. It's like building muscle through repetitive strain. Each setback adds to your reservoir of courage and capabilities. People might ask how you remain so centered. It's not that you don't feel the weight of challenges. It's that you've learned to turn those challenges into motivation. The spiritual or psychological resilience is part of what marks you as a chosen one. No matter how wild the storm, you have the uncanny ability to realign with your core mission. You trust that there is a purpose to your trials, and because of that, you refuse to doubt that the tide will inevitably shift in your favor. It's not a question of if, but when. Chapter 3. Indicators of Divine Intervention. Sometimes the road to victory isn't paved by your hustle alone. You can pour your heart into a project, meticulously plan every step, and still find yourself stuck until divine intervention steps in. These interventions aren't always dramatic. You won't necessarily see a burning bush or hear a thunderous voice from the sky. Rather, you might encounter subtle yet undeniable hints that a higher hand is guiding your path. One sign could be the sudden appearance of just the right person at the right moment, a mentor, partner, or friend who fills a gap you didn't know how to bridge. Another might be recurring dreams that push you toward a specific choice, or you notice an unusual sense of calm in situations that used to rattle you, as if an unseen force is whispering reassurance into your ear. For a chosen one, these experiences aren't mere luck. They're a nudge, sometimes gentle, sometimes forceful, reminding you that your journey is more than a solo adventure. If you pay close attention, you'll see how these interventions weave themselves into the fabric of everyday life. The phone call that arrives right when you need an answer, the quote you stumble across that resonates so deeply you can't ignore it, or the uncanny sense of timing in a business deal or personal matter that lines up too perfectly to be accidental. Each small piece forms part of a larger puzzle, reinforcing the message. Yes, your situation is turning around, and you're supported by far more than meets the eye. These occurrences often come when you're on the brink of surrender or frustration. You may find yourself saying, "I can't see a way out," just before a solution lands in your path. It's as if the universe waits for you to reach your edge, to ensure that when the resolution arrives, you recognize it as something sacred, not just happenstance. Through these experiences, you learn to distinguish between forcing outcomes and allowing a higher plan to work through you. And that distinction is crucial. It's the difference between feeling like you're pushing a boulder uphill versus floating downstream with a steady current at your back. In short, the presence of divine intervention doesn't minimize your effort. Instead, it amplifies it. Your dedication meets a force beyond what's humanly possible, giving you the breakthroughs that set your path apart. This isn't wishful thinking or blind optimism. It's a real alignment between your persistent action and a universal design that declares, this situation must tip in your favor. Chapter 4. Redefining your expectations. Many times we limit ourselves by clinging to rigid expectations of how things should unfold. We map out every milestone and become attached to a specific timeline, believing that if events don't match our script, we've failed. But as a chosen one, part of your calling is to embrace the fluidity of destiny. A slight pivot or a sudden delay doesn't mean your dream has evaporated. Rather, it often means a more refined version of it is taking shape. Think about a time you aim for one particular outcome, only to end up discovering something even better. Perhaps you chased a job that fell through, which felt devastating at first. But a few months later, an unexpected opportunity landed you in a role that was far more aligned with your talents. Or maybe a project you were passionate about hit roadblock after roadblock, only to morph into a different concept that resonated with a wider audience. These aren't random accidents. They're examples of how destiny sometimes rearranges the puzzle pieces. Redefining your expectations requires a balance of determination and flexibility. It's okay to hold a vision of what you want, but stay open to the idea that the final form might look slightly different, or even far more extraordinary, than you first imagined. The most striking transformations often arise from the unexpected corners of your journey. When you insist on only one outcome, you risk missing the grand possibilities that a detour can offer. This doesn't mean you passively wait for life to surprise you. It means you keep moving, keep striving, yet maintain a readiness to shift direction if a spark of insight suggests a better path. In practical terms, you might test your strategy with small steps, monitoring how life responds. If you sense doors closing repeatedly, maybe the universe is steering you somewhere else. If new doors open as soon as you knock, it's likely a green light to move forward. The key is to remain adaptable and trust that your situation must work out for your benefit, even if the route looks different from your original blueprint. And here's an important realization. Every time you release the need for rigid control, you create room for bigger blessings. By allowing the journey to guide you, you discover how truly supported you are. The outcome might exceed your plans, not by coincidence, but by a purposeful design that's been guiding you all along. Let this knowledge free you from the pressure of perfection and remind you that your path, in all its twists and turns, remains irrevocably pointed toward a positive resolution. Chapter 5. Transforming Struggle into Momentum. On the surface, struggle seems like the enemy of progress. It drains energy, stirs anxiety, and tempts you to doubt the path you're on. Yet paradoxically, it is often the very engine that propels you forward. Struggle forces you to confront perceived limits, challenge hand-me-down assumptions, and refine dormant skill sets. If every step came with breezy ease, you might never discover how resourceful, creative, and unbreakable you truly are. Think back to your most dramatic seasons of growth, those moments when your life arc bent upward. Did they unfold in times of smooth sailing or in the crucible of adversity? Odds are, your greatest leaps happened when circumstances pinned you to the ropes, and you had to innovate or dig deeper within yourself. For a chosen one, adversity is not a dead-end street. It's a slingshot. The tension that pulls you backward is the very force that catapults you forward. Consider the situation you're navigating now. It has likely tested facets of your identity you never thought would be questioned. Perhaps finances wavered, relationships strained, or your own confidence cracked under the pressure. Each moment of doubt, however brutal, laid rebar inside your character. You practiced rapid pivoting when doors slammed shut, developed X-ray vision for spotting openings others missed, and kept moving when every external signal suggested retreat. That is transformation in its purest form, turning obstacles into stepping stones that elevate your vantage point. To consciously channel struggle into momentum, adopt a micro-victory lens. Catalog every small win, sending a difficult email, choosing a healthier coping tool, asking for help instead of white-knuckling through. These granular moments may seem trivial, yet they accumulate like compound interest. A single decisive action today nudges the next, and before long you're covering distance once measured in daydreams. Track these shifts in a dedicated journal or voice memo. Tangible evidence of progress sustains motivation when emotions lag behind reality. Another practice: treat problems like data. When a plan misfires, resist labeling it failure. Instead, run a post-game analysis. What variables did I misread? What new skill would have changed the outcome? This lens removes shame and replaces it with curiosity, turning every setback into a personalized masterclass. Over time, you train your nervous system to associate challenge with opportunity, not danger, a neurological upgrade that will serve you in every arena. Also, notice how struggle sharpens discernment. During comfortable periods, distractions masquerade as options. Under pressure, however, only essentials survive. You learn which habits energize or deplete, which voices in your circle propel or poison, which projects align with purpose or merely pad ego. This clarity is priceless. It prevents you from scattering precious bandwidth once the breakthrough arrives. Do not underestimate the role of the body in this alchemy. Stress hormones gather during trials, but movement, breathwork, and adequate rest transmute chemical strain into kinetic fuel. Even a brisk 10-minute walk or 2 minutes of box breathing recalibrates the brain, transforming the fight-or-flight surge into focus and determination. Integrating physical rituals ensures momentum is sustainable, not a burst followed by a burnout. Equally vital is community. You may be the protagonist of your journey, but no hero thrives inside an echo chamber. Invite mentors, peers, and even protégés to witness your process. Their insights can shorten your learning curve. Your transparency normalizes resilience for them. Momentum accelerates inside ecosystems of shared courage. A subtle yet powerful shift occurs once you stop viewing hardship as a cosmic punishment and start treating it as raw material. Each obstacle becomes clay on the pot's wheel, shaped by your response into something functional and beautiful. You won't romanticize pain. You repurpose it. You won't hunt for unnecessary chaos. You mine gold from the chaos that does arrive. The external facts may match other stories of defeat, but your interpretation rewrites the ending. Over time, a new identity crystallizes. You are no longer a person who survived a rough stretch. You're a strategist who leveraged it. Your origin story gains heft. Potential employers, partners, and collaborators hear resilience woven into your words and feel safe in trusting you with weighty missions. Momentum begins. Opportunities, which begin more momentum, forming a virtuous loop initiated by what once threatened to collapse you. Remember this whenever fresh difficulties loom. The struggle you feel today is not a signal to retreat. It is the wind revving the turbine of tomorrow's progress. Welcome the wind. Harness it. Point your sails toward the horizon and let your hard-earned velocity carry you farther than smooth seas ever could. Chapter 6. Unexpected support from all sides. A common misconception is that you must fight alone. For years, you may have believed no one truly grasped your struggle, or worse, that sharing your dream would invite ridicule or sabotage. Yet life has a quiet habit of proving otherwise. In our darkest, most exhausting hours, helping hands often appear from directions we never considered, whispering you were never as isolated as you thought. The only hitch, you can't predict where or when that help will materialize, so staying receptive becomes part of the work. Sometimes rescue looks obvious. An old acquaintance re-enters your orbit at the perfect moment, offering resources or insight he didn't know you needed. Other times it's subtler. A colleague vouches for you in a closed-door meeting, shifting an entire decision in your favor before you even know a discussion occurred. New friends who share similar skies bond with you on a level that transcends small talk. Trust forms quickly because both of you recognize the familiar glint of resilience in each other's eyes. Even relatives who once seemed indifferent may step forward once they witness your unwavering commitment, moved by the courage they couldn't see until it burned bright. The common thread is this. When you move with conviction, the universe echoes that certainty back to you through people, circumstances, and timely coincidences. Think of it as resonance. Your purposeful stride sets off vibrations, and support rattles loose from unexpected corners. If self-reliance is your default stance, remember that independence, while admirable, is not the same as isolation. Accepting help does not diminish your competence, it multiplies your capacity. One hallmark of a chosen one is knowing when collaboration outperforms solo endurance. Wisdom whispers, you can do anything, but you don't have to do everything. Welcoming assistance is not weakness. It is strategic stewardship of energy and time. Support rarely arrives wearing neon arrows. It can be a podcast episode that hits play by accident, delivering the exact sentence you needed to hear. Maybe a stranger picks up the coffee you dropped, sparking a conversation that leads to a business partnership months later. An anonymous donor covers a month of rent, buying you breathing space to refine your vision. A neighbor's casual offer to watch your kids for an afternoon becomes the reason you finally complete that scholarship application, an application that later funds your next academic leap. Even intangible boosts count. The stranger's smile that reminds you humanity is kinder than headlines suggest. The song on shuffle that revives a flagging spirit at 2 a.m. Collectively, these gestures weave a safety net beneath your leap of faith. Each one is small enough to overlook, yet together, they create an ecosystem primed for your breakthrough. And here's a mystical twist. The more you acknowledge and appreciate each form of help, no matter how minor, the more frequently it shows up. Gratitude widens the portal. Life begins to mirror your openness. Invitations appear. Mentors volunteer. Resources align with uncanny precision. You shake free from the myth that heroism equals solitary grind. In reality, thriving communities, whether digital mastermind groups or neighborhood circles, run on reciprocal uplift. This revelation awakens a dual responsibility. First, remain teachable and willing to receive. Pride that refuses aid is just insecurity in disguise. Second, pay forward what you can, when you can. Your smallest act of generosity might be someone else's lifeline, a referral, an encouraging text, a Skillshare Zoom call. The momentum you set into motion circles back, amplifying the collective rise. Eventually, you grasp the profound truth. Your triumph is not solely yours. Every forward step you take empowers the hands that steadied you and inspires the eyes that watch quietly from the sidelines. Recognizing how intertwined your progress is with others and how your ascent elevates them in return infuses you with a deeper sense of purpose. You are no longer a lone traveler on a hard road. You are a vital thread in an ever-expanding tapestry of hope, proof that destiny favors collaboration over isolation, support over scarcity, and shared victory over solitary survival. Chapter 7, Stepping Across the Threshold. Finally, the moment arrives when you know with bone-deep certainty that the tide has turned for good. Maybe it's the phone call that carries long-awaited news, or perhaps it's subtler. The first morning you wake up, stretch, and realize the weight you carried for years is simply gone. The old burden hasn't just lightened, it has lost all power over you. Relief floods every cell, yet it arrives hand in hand with a humming anticipation for what lies beyond this doorway. Because this isn't merely an ending, it is the overture to an entirely new symphony of living. Stepping across the threshold transcends solving a single problem or winning one battle. It signifies an inner realignment, a seismic shift in how you perceive yourself and what you deem possible. This is the instant everything clicks. The so-called coincidences, the late-night revelations scribbled in journals, the relentless prayers whispered through tears, they converge like tributaries joining a river, revealing a navigable current you hadn't seen from the shoreline. You feel prepared, not because you possess every answer, but because you trust your capacity to uncover them. In the days and weeks that follow, life often mirrors your new stance with uncanny generosity. One door swings open, and suddenly corridors you never noticed burst with fresh portals. Invitations arrive from projects that would have intimidated you a year ago. People of vision, mentors, partners, collaborators, surface as if they had been waiting just outside the frame. With each yes, your muster confidence swells, but you stay anchored by memory. The sleepless nights, the near surrenders, the silent resilience that held your hope together. Humility braided with newfound ambition becomes rocket fuel propelling you into this next orbit without letting arrogance sabotage the ascent. You may already glimpse the ripple effects of this breakthrough. Personal evolution, stable finances, creatively rich friendships, or a call to serve in ways that heal collective wounds. There's a serene conviction that this situation had to work in your favor, as though the gears of the cosmos wouldn't settle until they snapped into this precise alignment. The world around you quietly corroborates that truth. Mundane routines sparkle with possibility, conversations deepen into soul-level authenticity, and dawn breaks each day with the promise that you are finally living the destiny you once only dared to imagine. Yet a threshold by nature is liminal ground, one foot lifted from the past, the other poised but not yet planted in the future. In this holy in-between, you are invited to conduct an inner audit. Which beliefs feel too cramped for where you're headed? Which habits deserve graduation into rituals? Which relationships require redefinition, not from bitterness, but from an honest appraisal of energetic exchange? Crossing over does not demand perfection, only intentionality. You choose with every boundary spoken, every opportunity accepted or declined, what legacy the next chapter will compose. Remember, too, that expansion brings responsibility. The influence you wield, the resources you gather, and the wisdom you broadcast can illuminate paths for others or cast long shadows. Your choice. Decide now to steward your blessings with integrity. Draft a generosity plan meant to serve someone still in the tunnel you exited. Speak truth even when your voice shakes. Doing so multiplies the breakthrough, proving it was never meant to stop with you. You stand on the edge of terrain both familiar and brand new, equipped to unfold purpose in dimensions you cannot yet map. Being a chosen one was never about perfect foresight. It is about courageous forward motion anchored in unshakable faith that life conspires for your good. The road behind was winding, yes, but it carved legs strong enough for the miles ahead. So take the breath, whisper your gratitude, adjust the crown life tried to topple, and step. Let the unknown feel like liberation rather than risk. You've earned the sunrise through every terror, every late night recalibration, every moment you almost quit, but chose another breath instead. Now the horizon spreads wide, painted with possibilities as boundless as your resolve to realize them. And you, traveler, are unequivocally